Hi guys, welcome back. If you don't know me already, my name is Toni, and today I want to talk about something that's a little controversial for us older women. I want to talk about fuel and how to properly fuel your body. I don't know about you, but I know a lot of women in, our 30s and 40s, maybe even older, that are low-key afraid of food. Carbs are bad. I shouldn't eat that. Calories are bad. I got to cut calories. This is bad. All of these things, when we start associating bad with food, and making all these cuts and getting into this diet culture, it's not healthy for your emotional anything, your mental health, but it's also like really incorrect. We find ourselves making too many cuts. And most women that I've trained, most women that I've come across in my life, we're under fueling. A majority of the time, we are not eating enough to properly fuel our body to get the strength that we need, to have the energy that we need. So we're going to break it down and talk about that a little bit. So consider this a public service announcement for all women, especially 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe even beyond. I want to start with calories. I don't want to talk about this in a diet culture rule book kind of a way. I want to talk about how to actually fuel the body that you live in right now. How are you going to meet your needs? Because strength doesn't come with eating less. Strength is going to come with eating smarter. So I want you guys to start by thinking about calories, not as a moral issue, as good or bad. I want you to think about it. A calorie is energy. So 1 calorie equals 1 energy source. Your BMR, which is what your body is naturally going to burn just to live, which means that you need energy to breathe, to think, to walk, to digest food, to use the bathroom. All of these things, they all take calories, which is energy. So say your basal metabolic rate is maybe 1400. That is not the number that we need to put as a deficit to lose weight, especially if we're training. That is the bare minimum number that we should be eating. 1400 calories is what our body needs if we laid in a bed and did absolutely nothing all day to survive healthily, to maintain where we are. Once we're adding working out to that, we should also be adding some calories to repair our muscles from working out. So calorie, not a moral issue, it's an energy source. When you're strength training, your body needs energy to be able to lift the weight. Energy to repair all those tiny little muscle tears, because when we're lifting weight, we're tearing all of the muscle, tearing it down, little micro tears. And what happens is as our body sends energy to it, and we start rebuilding that muscle, it's getting bigger, it's getting stronger. Those fibers are growing, and that is how the muscle gets more defined. That's how they get bigger. So we're sending muscle. We also are going to need energy to maintain muscle. You're also going to need the energy to recover from the workouts. That's where that repairing goes. So energy is super important. When our calories are too low, all of that gets harder. We're more tired, we're more sore, and we're not seeing any gains or improvement with our strength. We're kind of plateauing, probably not losing weight or seeing any of those happy side effects either that we get from strength training and working out. So if you're finding yourself lifting constantly, feeling exhausted instead of empowered, you're not necessarily training wrong, but you are probably under fueling. So the big 3 after calories, and we're going to bounce back to that just a little bit, but the big 3 after calories, we're going to start with protein. Protein, carbs, fat. Those 3 matter. Even the carbs, not a bad word, really, especially the carbs. We're going to get to that. Let's start with protein. So protein is your repair crew. The protein and those amino acids are what are going to come in, aminos are what are going to come in, and they're going to repair your muscle after the workouts. It's also going to protect the muscle that you already have. This becomes more and more important every decade that you live. This is why women in their 40s often need more protein than they used to and not less. Think eggs, chicken, fish, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, legumes, whatever fits your lifestyle. Consistency. If you got to throw in a random protein shake or a protein bar to get that number up and hit those goals, do it. But I'm a big advocate of getting all of that from a natural food as much as you can, not synthetic. So proteins, number 1, repair the muscles. Number 2, carbs. Yeah, I said it. This is where most people don't see eye to eye. I've actually had people come in to my strength program and tell me, no, I will not eat carbs. because I tell them you need a small carb, you need a small protein before and after your workout. Part of your pre-workout meal needs to include carbs because carbs give you energy. They will not. So somewhere along the way, a lot of women have been told that carbs are the enemy. The fun truth here is that carbs are really your body's preferred fuel for movement. When you lift weights, your muscles run on stored carbs. It's called glycogen. What's happening is your body's taking that glycogen, and that glycogen becomes the energy that you need for movement. It's crazy. If you don't have enough glycogen stored into your muscles, your workouts are going to be harder, your weights are going to feel heavier, and your recovery is going to take longer. And all of that, that's lack of fuel. So y'all, we need carbohydrates. We need them not only to give us the energy to work out, but also to give us the energy post-workout that we need, that little bump to get us through the day. All right, the third one, I said protein. We went through carbs. Now it's going to be fats. Fat is going to be one, the long-term energy source, but also is your hormone helper. And a lot of women don't know this. Fat is amazing. Healthy fats are amazing. They support your joint health, your hormone production, and they help your body to absorb key vitamins that we need. And I'm not saying like go chug some olive oil or eat some bacon. Those are not healthy fats. I'm saying go eat some avocado, extra virgin olive oil as a drizzle in portion. Let's watch our portions, right? Healthy nuts, fatty fish, all of those things, those absolutely belong in your daily life. So something that surprises a lot of the women that I've talked to is when you eat enough, and I've experienced this myself, when you eat enough protein and your carbs, your body's actually going to burn more calories because your muscle is metabolically active. That means it burns energy even when I'm sitting here talking to you right now. I'm burning calories because I have muscle mass on me. So because it's metabolically active, I'm sitting here and I'm not doing anything and I'm burning calories doing it. But here's the big but. Muscle needs fuel. It needs fuel to stick on you, to stick around. So when you undereat, your body is saying, it doesn't say, cool, she's not eating enough. She's at a deficit, too much of a deficit. Let's lose some fat. No, but catch this. And if you listen to nothing else today, hear this. If you are under eating and you are working out, your body is no longer burning fat. Now it says, oh, we need to conserve energy. And remember, I mentioned fat is your long-term energy source. So we're going to conserve energy. Your metabolism is going to slow down. And if you're not eating your protein, it is now going to start burning your muscle for energy. It's going to store that fat because it doesn't know how long it's going to need to survive. And if it can't do anything with the muscle, it can't repair the muscle, might as well get rid of it. We don't need it. So several years ago, and I know this because I've lived it, I'm going to tell you a story. Several years ago, I was severely overtraining and massively underfueling. So I was running I was peak training for a 100-mile race. I was running an upwards of 70 miles a week. And I was lifting in the gym regularly, hitting those HIIT workouts that I love regularly. But I was eating on average 600 to 700 calories a day. Yep. I didn't realize I had cut it to that much of an extreme deficit. But here I am, 700 calories a day. Mind you, my basal metabolic rate is 1,556 at this time. I'm eating less than half of what my body needs to survive. So instead of getting leaner or stronger with all of this working out that I'm doing, I felt completely exhausted. My body was inflamed. My joints hurt. I was completely stuck. And the worst part, hear this out, the worst part was I was gaining weight and I was barely eating anything. I had lost all my muscle mass and I was getting bigger and bigger. My BMI was off the charts. I weighed as much at this time, doing all this training and eating 700 calories a day. I weighed the same amount that I did when I was 9 months pregnant with my biggest pregnancy. Wild. I'm not going to give numbers out because I don't believe in numbers on the scale. I don't think that they matter as a whole. I think they matter for you as an individual. So I'm not going to talk about that. But I weighed the same as I did when I was 9 months pregnant, doing all of that. It's insane. The worst part of all of that is how much it messed with my head. Something is wrong with me. I kept going to doctors, multiple doctors, trying to figure out what's wrong. I keep gaining weight. And you know what they told me? It's during this big Ozempic push. Oh, we have Ozempic. Clearly you're probably overeating. You're miscalculating your calories for the day. Most of the doctors didn't even make eye contact with me. They looked at me, they looked at my chart, they saw my BMI, and they said, hey, you're morbidly obese, you're overweight. Appointment after appointment, doctor said, have you tried semaglutide? Have you tried Ozempic? Are you interested in this? We could probably get insurance to cover it because you meet a certain criteria. Nobody ever once sat and talked to me. Now, listen, I have nothing against the shot, nothing at all. But I really wanted to figure out a sustainable solution to a problem. I knew something was wrong. It wasn't that I was having an issue controlling my eating. It was that I had an issue going on in my body, and with how much I was training, I needed answers. I didn't want just a fix. I didn't want to just lose weight. That's not what it was about to me. So I wanted to clarify that, just because I have a lot of friends and family on the shot. Nothing wrong with it. For me, I needed to know what was wrong. So finally, eventually, I found a doctor that sat and talked to me. I'm so thankful for this doctor. He was willing to sit down with me. He ran all this blood work. We did hormonal tests. I got thyroid tests, adrenal function. He even took stool samples to test the microbiome in my gut. Crazy. I had never even heard of any of this. The microbiome test was actually really cool. Highly recommend looking into it. It actually analyzes the bacterial DNA or RNA, and it provides so much insight into what's going on in your gut as far as microbial diversity and potential imbalances you might have. So that's super cool. Also, you get to learn about any food sensitivities that you might have. So that's cool. Anyway, side tangent. I sat and talked to this doctor, had real conversations. I laid everything out. He heard me. He listened to me. And I learned that I was super underfueled. He had me track my food for a month before we did anything. He's like, I'm going to run all these tests while we're waiting for the results. I want you to track every bite you eat into this specific program that he had where I didn't have to go to the office. I kind of put it all in and he could see it on his end. So I put it all down. I'm weighing my food. I'm measuring it. I'm doing all the things. Everything is normal. I'm still training. I'm still running. I'm still doing all the things. And I'm putting my food in. Well, he meets back with me, 3 to 4 weeks later, maybe. I can't remember exactly what it was, but 3 to 4 weeks later, we meet up. And he says, Toni, you're eating an average of 660 calories a day. You're burning over 1,000 calories every day just exercising on top of what you're burning to live. He said, you are severely underfueling. Your body doesn't have enough energy to build or even maintain muscle. So now I'm breaking my muscle down, putting all this toxin into my body, my bloodstream. I'm holding on to fat, my stress hormones through the roof. He said he had not seen stress hormones, cortisol, as high as mine were in a long time. Worst case, I have all this extra weight. My neck was over an inch bigger than it is now, weight around the midline. Insane. He said, no wonder why you're tired. No wonder why you don't feel good. No wonder why you're sluggish. You feel like something's wrong. No wonder why you're not seeing the results in your training that you used to. So all of that to say, he explained it so simply to me. And I had people for years tell me, you're under eating. You need to eat more. But it's hard, the idea of eating more when you're not losing the weight already, when you're at a deficit. It's hard to wrap your brain around needing to eat more, to have more food in your diet. So putting it simply, he said, your body feels unsafe. So it cannot prioritize performance or aesthetics. It's prioritizing only survival. So instead of cutting more, he put me on what they called a reverse calorie diet, where I added small amounts of food each week, usually 100 or 150 calories at a time. And the focus was on protein and healthy complex carbs. He kept telling me the same thing over and over throughout this. Trust the process. He said, I don't want you to get on the scale. I don't want you to do anything. I want you to trust the process. And in a month, we'll meet back and we'll assess and we'll evaluate. We'll run some more blood work. We'll see where you're at. I said, okay, I have nothing to lose at this point. I'm the biggest I've ever been. I'm going to trust the process. I already trusted this doctor. I'm going to trust the process. So about maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and this is a couple years ago now. So a couple weeks in, I had gained 2 pounds. I got on the scale and I had gained 2 pounds. I lost my mind. I called him. I was panicking because of course I did, He calmly reminded me, your body's still in shock, still in fight or flight mode. You're getting this little bits of extra food in. Stay calm. Your body will feel safe again. Trust the process. I said, okay. So then he had me actually reduce my exercise during this time because he said my body really needs to use the fuel and not brace against it anymore. So I'm now eating more and more and more. And on top of that, he has me decreasing what I'm doing for exercise. So decrease my HIIT, decrease my strength, decrease my running. Y'all, I am not feeling like the best version of myself at this point in life. But a couple months in, maybe 2-3 months in now, I'm getting close to about 1,400 calories a day on average at this point. Some days a little more, some days a little less, but I think I was averaging right around 1,500 calories. At the 3-month mark, I'm going to get another scan with him, get my blood work done. I've lost 33 pounds at this point. 33 pounds. And here's the part that really matters. It didn't stop there. Over time, we continued increasing those calories. Today, now, I sit closer to 2,000, 2,200 calories a day. I have muscle mass on my body. I've gained like 12 pounds of muscle. I'm still maintaining easily over 30 pounds down. My scans show significantly less body fat, and I've gained that substantial amount of muscle, a crazy amount. Y'all, my body didn't need less food. It needed fuel. We need to look at food as fuel. That's where that good and bad comes into play. Is this fueling me, or does it just taste good? Is this fueling me, or is it going to spike my sugar and crash it? This is why I'm so passionate when it comes to this conversation with clients, and especially women, especially older women, because when we're in our 20s, I feel like we have a lot more lax, a lot more leeway, a lot more grace with our body. As we get older, I feel like our body, it really gets stuck in that survival mode, that protection mode. We hit that point where our body's screaming for help, and we really have to learn how to listen. So that is my tangent on that. But let me just say, I've never felt better than I do right now. That's kind of my story. Before I became a fitness coach, this all happened, probably 6 years before, or 6 years. Oh my gosh, probably 6 months before I got my personal training certification, and really just developed this passion to wanting to work with people and to help people find health, to get women that are feeling like they're not seeing results, or they're on a plateau, or they're feeling stuck or tired or inflamed, or like something is wrong with you. Listen, I'm here to tell you the answer is not always working out more or cutting calories. Sometimes it's taking a step back and seeing what your body needs and seeing what your body's been screaming for all along, which I feel like for a majority of women is food. It's fuel. In real life, it doesn't have to be so complicated. Hit protein at every meal. Let carbs support your workouts instead of avoiding them, and include healthy fats daily. The rule is 1 of each item per meal, with the highest focus on protein. Eat enough, especially on training days. And most importantly, pay attention to how you feel. How's your energy? How's your strength? How's your recovery? How's your mood been this week? I can promise that those are going to be the best indicators, better than the scale's ever going to be. Small, consistent changes add up. You don't need perfection. You need to focus. You need to focus on being that strong woman that you're becoming. You need to pay attention to how you're fueling your body. So I'm going to close my public service announcement with this: eating enough fuel, not letting yourself go, not eating whatever you want because Toni said you need more calories. Nothing like that. We're focusing on eating enough, especially when you're training. We need to fuel our body. Our workouts are going to be better. Our recovery is going to be improved, and our metabolism is going to stay more resilient if it has food. When we fuel our body, we're building strength, and we can learn to thrive, especially as we're in our 30s, 40s, and 50s. That food is so important. So, y'all, if you have any questions on this, reach out. Let's talk. But man, fuel your body. I feel like a whole different person. I could go on and on. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna end this podcast. But I could go on and on. I could talk about this for 100 years, just saying fuel your body. I've never felt better. I'm in my 40s and I've never felt better. My energy, my sleep, my hormone production, my hormone regulation, my everything, my muscle mass, how I look, all of it is better than I have ever felt. And I've worked out for a majority of my life in one way or another. Guys, fuel your body. Don't be afraid to eat. Pay attention to what you're eating and ask yourself, is this going to benefit me, or is this just something I crave right now? We're going to get into cravings that's a whole nother podcast in itself. But you guys, reach out if you have questions, comment, like, subscribe if you are liking these kind of podcasts so I know what to do more of. But have a beautiful day. Make good choices. And until next time, let's get strong enough to age well, y'all.